electoral preparedness in Africa. One of the emotive issues in Africa is the electoral process. And when we listened to Crispin, the challenges they face as an electoral management body, then you know that issues of elections are very emotive and sensitive at the same time. Many countries in Africa are about to conduct their elections. The election cycle is ongoing across Africa. What we want to try and engage in is what is the best way forward to prepare for these elections. And we will draw our experience from Kenya. We have the Kenyan electoral landscape. We have a constitution, and Mr. Crispin alluded to this when he was talking earlier on, that the political rights under Article 38 of our constitution are well defined in Kenya. We have a number of legal regimes that regulate the conduct of elections in Kenya. But there are key issues that we need to address before the panelists come in. What is the expected best case scenario for the proper conduct of elections? And number one is the partnership that the electoral management body has with stakeholders. It is imperative that for the conduct of, for the proper conduct of elections, all stakeholders must engage and together come up with a framework to ensure that we have free, fair, and credible elections. So Kenya, we have a framework of engagement. And as you know, through the information we got from Crispin, IEBC has started engaging with stakeholders. As we speak, they are engaging political parties. Last week, though, in Mombasa, they engaged CSOs. So they have a program of engagement. And for other African countries, I think this is a lesson we should learn from Kenya, that before we approach elections, we need to engage stakeholders so that we move together with stakeholders, political parties. I was talking over the lunch with my friend, Mr. Vitalis, about the situation in Tanzania. And if you sit down with the Tanzanians, you will see the importance of what I'm saying, engagement with stakeholders. That is not happening in Tanzania. And I believe that is the case in Uganda. I don't know about Nigeria, Ghana, and Tunisia. But this is a very important, aspect of ensuring that we prepare well for elections. Number two, there is the issue of voter registration. For there to be credible elections, is every person who qualifies to vote must be given an opportunity to vote. And most of the time, there are no proper mechanisms to ensure all those qualified to vote, they're actually registered to vote. When I visited Ghana, and they were explaining to me about the remoteness of the states in Ghana, and this is equally everywhere, that it may not be possible for the electoral management body to reach every corner of the country to ensure that eligible voters are actually registered to vote. So if we want to have free, fair, and credible elections, if we want to prepare properly for elections, we have to ensure that voter registration is countrywide, and all those who qualify are given that opportunity to vote. But the other challenges, in Kenya we have had complaints that refugees are now being registered to vote. People who are seeking asylum are being registered to vote. And even terrorists have been, there have been some engagement with terrorist leaders to that effect. So these are pertinent issues that need to be addressed. And you cannot address them if you don't engage stakeholders. So the issue of voter registration is also important to prepare well for elections. Number 3 is voter education. We may assume that every citizen across Africa understands the right to vote, the importance of voting, and voting credible and credible leaders. So we need to carry out voter education on the right to vote or to be voted as a candidate, the rights of political parties. In many countries, political parties outside the governing parties are not given equal opportunity to compete with the governing parties. So voter education is key towards preparing for proper elections. Number 4, nomination of candidates. In Kenya, this is very sensitive when it comes to nomination of candidates. Political parties violate their own regulations. There are a lot of corruption involved. There is no equal opportunity given to PWDs, women, youth, when it comes to nomination of candidates. And there is dominance by male and by those who are well endowed in terms of finances. So when you have nomination of candidates conducted well, then you prepare well for elections. But if they are not, then you are preparing for chaos. Then the issue of dispute resolution is important before elections, during elections, and after elections. There must be mechanisms to ensure that at whatever stage when disputes arise, then there is a mechanism to address them. Number 6, it is election campaigns. We must regulate elections campaign, and of course during campaign, there must be also equal opportunity to candidates to be heard. We have had challenges in Kenya where PWDs, women and youth are not given the proper coverage, they are not given the proper opportunity to express themselves, to compete with others, to ensure that they have a good agenda for them to be elected. And of course, during election day, number 7, transparency during the election day, access to polling stations. We have had occasions where registered voters were not able to vote because they could not access polling stations for various reasons, because of remoteness, or sometimes transport, or sometimes a number of people who are to vote at one particular polling station, and time is not on their side. So transparency during elections is very vital, and this transparency should extend to the voting process as well as to the declaration of results. Last but not least, the right to challenge electoral results. It is important that to prepare well for elections, we must give either candidates or voters the right or the opportunity to challenge results that they don't agree with. This is an important element in ensuring that there is free, fair, and credible elections. And finally, respect for the declaration of results by the electoral management body or by the judicial pronunciation after challenging the elections. So these were quick points I prepared because the main person who was to present this was not able to attend the conference today, but a quick survey of our laws made me come up with these 8 important activities that ensure proper preparedness for fair, credible elections. I want to stop at this juncture and give an opportunity to our panelists to exhaustively now address the issues I've raised. Thank you very much. This is mine.
Thank you. A round of applause for him. So I was scanning through the house, and now all my panelists are there. And I love how we have kept time. So we'll be finishing earlier so that our guests can also enjoy the other Kenyan cuisine available in the evening as they take their rest for the day before the final day and to conclude this very important summit. Next up is a panel session that will focus, just as Mr. Abubakar had just scratched the surface for that discussion, to at length discuss it. Halima Mohammed, Executive Director, COAC. A round of applause for her as she comes. Karibu Halima. Mr. Vitali Maembe from Tanzania Civil Society Advocate. Karibu. Welcome. Ruth Kangwa is from Girls Gone Political from Zambia, and she indeed is political, as you had witnessed. Welcome. Hilda Achiro, the Civic Advisory Hub, Uganda. Karibu Hilda. So this is well constituted. This is too all, eh? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, you can go near, no problem. So I need the moving microphone. So I just want to fix your problems once and for all. So you two will share one microphone in the spirit of Ubuntu. So this is largely on elections, the credibility, the challenges facing the electoral agencies in the continent, the credibility, the process, adherence to the law, campaign financing, involvement of the young people in the poll processes, civic education, and Kenya is just but a classical example. So I want to thank you again, and we look forward to your insights. So can I begin with you, Madam Halima Mohammed, the Executive Director, COAC, on just a general opening remarks on elections in Africa, elections in Kenya, the integrity, the outcomes, whether it's reflective of the will of the people, and in certain circumstances where we see leaders holding on to power for far long, thereby compromising the quality of the poll processes. Yes, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Halima Mohammed. I work for Post Education Center based in Mombasa, Kenya. And in my opening, basically when you look at the electoral reforms, for me, I will focus on the women aspect and persons with disability. I'm looking at it in a way that opportunities that are there that have been outlined by Director Yusuf Abubakar. I'm looking at it, some of them have infringed the rights of women, have infringed the rights of the persons with disabilities. I'm looking at it in a way that as we respect the rule of law and the democratic principles. You see, the understanding basically here is we're looking at these elements where an analysis being done to ensure that women and persons with disability get access to voting polling stations, both in Africa. And two, we're looking at are the security plans which are being in place have factored in women and persons with disability. For this, what do I mean? Sometimes polling stations are not accessible. I'm not talking about Kenya alone, I'm talking about Africa at large. Accessibility of these places sometimes are far, and women or persons with disability are not able to access these places. Three, I'm looking at the promotion of inclusive participation. How do we ensure that we participate fully? In the morning, Ayub, you talked about the two-third gender rule has not been attained in Parliament in our focus within Kenya. But again, it's not only in Kenya. I'm looking at it in the whole spectrum of Africa. It has not been attained. We talked about inclusive participation of both genders, but it is not there. I'm looking at strengthening electoral processes where we ensure that there is credibility and transparency as people go to vote, as we await for the results and the announcement. But again, do we get that as Kenyans? How will you ensure that that is actualized in our country? Thank you.
Okay. So you wanted to pick on? Please proceed. So generous.
So
Unaweza zungumza Swahili pia.
Sawa, but I would like to just sing one verse before I talk.
Revolutionary song.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Kumbe you are a guitarist as well.
We mama nani we, mwagize mtoto anilete mimi ninywe nilewe, niongee Kiingereza, nikilewa situkani mimi huwa nalia, naimba naongea Kiingereza. On type my type wisole waya waya. Ondoka ondoka we katika nyumba yangu. Nilipokupata pesa za yule mgombea nikanywa nikalewa nikaanza kusema kizungu. On type my type wisole waya waya. Nasi hatujambo. Uchaguzi umeisha salama. Ila mwenzetu ndo analalamika mgombea alomweka madarakani kwa kura yake mwenyewe hamsaidi mama, hana maana kwake. Yes, thank you. Yeah, what I wanted to say is some years ago we were complaining that we vote for people, but when they go to the parliament, they are not representing us. They talk about their issues, they protect some thieves, and they do some other things. But now we Tanzanians, we have other things to complain. We vote for people, but those people we vote are not there. So they bring the people they want. Who bring those people? It's these people in power. They don't want to leave. Even though people they don't want them, but they keep staying there. They use everything that they have to make sure that they are there. As an artist, And the place that I live to the grassroots. So what I can say now, we are going to have this general election in October, but people in the streets, to the villages, they don't wait for the election to vote. They are just waiting to see what will happen. They are not waiting for the ballot box to decide. They are waiting to see what will happen after election. Not because they don't like democracy, but because democracy has been used against them. So, as you can see now, the leader of opposition party is insane, and that's a case continue. Other politicians, they cannot do anything. And you saw many activists, they cannot talk, and when they talk, they disappear. So we don't know what will happen in October. But we as Africans, we can discuss to find solution, because when something happened in Tanzania, and when Tanzania are not in a safe side, means that all Africa is not in a safe side.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm very sorry for Africans, because we had this Gen Z in Kenya. They started something very good, but now their strength is going down. So this is not just bad for Kenya, but also bad for all Africans who were prepared to support them to raise their voices. Yes.
Do you think the elections in October will be free and fair?
No, we're not going to be fair, because we have other voices that say no reforms, no election. So also, we don't even dare to say like the right to vote, everyone must vote like this, but because some people, they don't believe in voting now, because there's no free, they don't think that there will be free election.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Hilda, give us the Ugandan case. Elections next year?
Yeah, February.
February next year, 2026. And in 2017, the ruling NRM party had passed a law in parliament acrimoniously and scrapped the age limit. So are you and Ugandans preparing for lifetime presidency under Yoweri Museveni?
It's a very interesting question. All I can say, whether we are prepared or not, there's some things that you see fate is bringing upon you, and it's out of your control. We are not as brave as our brothers and sisters in Kenya. I keep telling my Kenyan friends, we cannot rock the streets like that. And one of the reasons, if you ask me if we're prepared, our government has been militarized. And I believe most African countries, whether you know it or not, militarization is on the rise. You'll find that most public sectors are now being headed by either retired generals or the ruling army. That is militarization. So all I can say is that whether we are ready or not, the president, we all know the results. All Africans can attest to that. And picking up from his point is where he talked about people don't have interest in voting. I think it cuts across in my country as well. Because we are very sure, especially when it comes to the top leadership, we are very sure of the results. People sit back and are like, where should I vote? Does it really matter? But also now this gets back to us members of the civil society. We are members of the civil society. We are leaders in our communities. Apart from being members of the civil society, this is our constitutional right. How do we let people down in the grassroots know that, yes, the elections might not turn out to your advantage, but what if it turns out to your advantage? Why don't we go and vote? It's your constitutional right.
Yeah.
And I see that as a gap in my country. And reason being, I've talked about militarization and securitization of our legal framework. So even the active civil society organizations that were doing voter education more than the Electoral Commission itself, that clearly simplified the laws for the local person, for a grassroots person, most of them now have been closed down because of the current legal framework. So the operation were either suspended or the work has been frustrated and have closed down. So the local person doesn't have interest, but some of them are also ignorant that that is their constitutional right to vote.
Yeah.
And one more, elections have also been commercialized. So we do not know the role of the president and the role of the member of parliament. Simply because the member of parliament comes for burial in my village and gives me 100,000 Uganda shillings as condolence, I'll be like, yes, he actually gives out money. The other person doesn't give out money. So when that member of parliament comes and tells me, I've got this money from the president, definitely I'm going to vote for the president. And then last but not least, we have tested war in Uganda. And it's something that people fear. So whether we are ready or not, one thing that we are not ready for, we are not ready to go back to the bush. We're not ready to sleep outside our houses. Yeah.
Okay. Ruth, give us the Zambian experience.
Not Zambian experience,
But
today
African
I was given
experience,
I was given a big task of touching on Southern Africa. And
Yeah.
I must say, once again, thank you to Haki Africa, because I was particularly excited about this panel. I'm passionate about elections, democracy, and governance on it. And as Director had put it outright, to outlay everything. I'll start first off by touching on looking at electoral preparedness generally in Africa, and how we must realize that it's beyond the ballot paper, the technology that we're now bringing in for voter registration, you know, the polling stations, accessibility thereof, but also the preparedness of whether every citizen feels safe, feels the need to actually get out and vote and to participate. But what we have seen also across the continent as well is quite a dangerous pattern, in the sense that elections begin as a point of promise, of renewal, of hope and trust when you vote for us. When you vote for Ruth in 2026, you're going to see change, and I'm going to bring electric trains and so on, right? But they've actually become the renewal flashpoints for violence, number one, exclusion, but as well as mistrust. And for young people now to get into the Zambian context, and for women and so on, the barriers begin at the very first step: registration, electoral registration, voter registration. And I think what we have seen is that if voter registration is inaccessible because perhaps you couldn't get your national ID on point, especially for your first-time voters, already you limit the capacity or the voters' role to be the people who participated the previous election, but taking into cognizance that even the people on those roles, some people died, some people just want to shun away because no change has happened, but as well as the fact that if campaigns continue to be marked by intimidation, finances, like she mentioned, right? The conflict then becomes almost inevitable. And for me, this is why I believe that electoral preparedness really must hinge on three pillars. Zambia heads to the polls, Uganda will head to the polls, Malawi most importantly.
Kenya.
But Malawi is just even a month away, right? There are critical conversations that we should have as a continent, as observers who may have those opportunities. Number one, our conflict-sensitive processes. I think we must have situation rooms, as we call them in Uganda. I've been privileged to do some of my consultancy work where we've got a women's situation room that anticipates any tensions and addresses them before they spill over, especially at the grassroots. And my second aspect is right-based safeguards, especially in the electoral process. What are we doing in terms of protecting the freedom of expressions, especially for those from political parties, but those who also decide to be what we call or term independents? When we take it to the Zambian scenario, we are 11 months away and a few days to our election. And what I'll tell you, it is definitely certain that President Hakainde Hichilema is going through. But what we see on the flip side coin of our democratic space in terms of electoral preparedness is we are stuck in a bubble right now of discussing the passing of a predecessor or a former president who still hasn't been buried. And for me, it makes me, it gets me into a space of unsettledness, right? Because our nation right now is clouded with so many issues that even electoral preparedness or the integrity of our electoral management body by the citizens isn't even being questioned. To quickly also just dive into it, some key lessons that we must learn from the Southern African continent is we look at South Africa in 2024. The 2024 election in South Africa broke a 30-year pattern where the ANC were the ones who always ruled, right? And for the first time in history, no single party held the power. For me, it's a wake-up call for the African continent to see that there are already democratic shifts by the citizens, even if we feel that we are in repressive systems or our electoral management bodies are not independent and so on. But what we are seeing is that citizens at the end of the day on the African continent are getting to a point where they're tired of promises and they want service delivery and quality service delivery. We take it to Mozambique. Mozambique election told us something also equally important, that you cannot prepare for elections if citizens are living in fear. Because what we saw happen in Mozambique, even during the transition process, resulted into tension and creating instability, not only for Mozambique, but even the countries around it. And the lesson we should pick out of there is that democracy really cannot grow in the shadow of insecurity, but we need to find a way in which ballots and the bullets shouldn't mix.
Okay.
Lastly, so that I don't preempt, we take it to Namibia and Botswana in the Southern African region. I must say, these are some of the two countries that are often celebrated for stability. Zambia for peaceful transition, right? But Namibia and Botswana. And we've always seen that the turnout is young people. Namibia now is a chain of a woman president. The speaker is a woman. Chief Justice is a woman. And you're also seeing the push for gender equality from that end. From Botswana, you've got President Advocate Gideon Duma Boko as well, which is giving a face of hope for the Southern African region, where we also relatively have always had older citizens. But what is critical in this? When you heard the title, Girls Gone Political, some of the work that we've taken very critical, and my good colleague there, Ms. Fataki, is we've had to step in to realize that there's a gap in terms of civic education, civic awareness, preparation for the citizens.
Okay.
And we had to take up an initiative now through this social movement where Riziki and I co-authored a book called She Votes, She Leads. You are bringing civic education, political education to the layman to be able to understand, to be relatable. But our key lesson that we've picked out of this at the end of the day, there is an information gap within the citizens to ensure that there's electoral preparedness and integrity.
Okay.
I'll leave the rest for the rest of the conversation,
Okay.
but just, this is food for thought.
Yeah, thank you. Halima, let's now bring it back home before I open up the floor. In the last elections in our country, nearly 8 million Kenyans did not vote. So that number is more than what the two top presidential candidates had garnered. The IEBC says that it projects to register 28 million voters by 2027. All right? Of that number, 22 is aged between 18 and 34. So, what sort of awareness campaign do you think is commensurate to that number? And from the Kenyan experience and the finance bill, where we had seen in 2023 Kenyans translating that in all the mother languages, how effective tool can that be on the part of the citizenry? Because at times, the IEBC has failed on the sensitization campaigns and awareness. So between the two, which do you think will carry the weight as we head into the polls?
Thank you very much, Ayub. First, I have two opinions.
Yes.
One, as we head towards the election, there is a scenario where the age between 18 to 34 might not vote. Why? This is the age where, at the moment, they are struggling to get the identity cards. With what we have seen in 2023, 2024, where Gen Zs were on the ground protesting and translating the finance bill for the cry of the people. So the question will be, if the majority are going to remove the presidency, will they be allowed to vote come 2027? So that is one. Two, if we have proper sensitization, we have best practices in Kenya. One, we have early warning systems that have helped to shape the election processes in Kenya, where civil society have taken its mandate to try to report in different areas of this world. Citizen, for example, and civil society where we come from. And two, we have the media engagements, where have taken a big role in reporting each and every corner of this country, whatever is happening. And then we have the youth empowerment. So these are best practices that have happened and can still be practiced and can continue to ensure that young people participate in voting in 2027. Then we also have the women participation and inclusion, where we ensure that women have been sensitized, but again, now we are looking at, it's not only about them being voters, but again, also women being candidates. In terms of how do we ensure these women and outreaches which are being conducted on the ground by civil society can actually map and shape Kenyan politics at the same time the electoral reforms that we have today. Thirdly, we are looking at what can help is we can also do, like post-mortem, for example. What has happened in previous election that didn't work, that did not materialize to what we have today? We were promised so many things by this government, but again, what has happened is that we have young people today do not have faith with the current government, and they feel like even if today we have election, the president will go. But now the question is, for those who are today protesting, do not have voters' cards, have not been registered. They are university students and they have not acquired their identity cards. My prayer will be, if these young people who are the majority, the 8 million you talked about, today if they have voters' card, and then we look at the millennia, and if we combine the two, we'll have a new presidency, shape the country, and shape the world. Thank you.
Brilliant. So hang on to the Tanzanian experience, because there's a big dilemma, right? So if Tundu Lissu and Chadema have been disqualified, who then will contest against the mother of the nation? Think about that.
Thank you. But first of all, I want to correct something there.
Yes, please.
It's not a mother of the nation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and,
She's the president.
She's a president.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, when she succeeded the late John Joseph Pombe Magufuli,
Yes.
we had the first, not only woman, but hijabi woman, a Muslim,
Yeah.
for that matter, and from Zanzibar by extension.
Yeah.
So we were hopeful about Tanzania.
Yes, everyone, not just in the country,
Yeah.
but even in the continent,
Yes, yes, please.
they were very positive about coming of Samia Suluhu.
Yeah.
And in the first year of her leadership, everyone said, yes, now we have a leader. But after that, there was something which is not what people say, but what I say. There was men in her party that tried to steal the power of that woman and change some things, and they succeeded. So now, I'm one of the people who believe that she's not leading. There are some people are leading. But about when I talk about the election this year, we have 3 groups from the big parts in political parties in Tanzania. So CCM, they say their slogan now, October we vote. And Chadema, they say no reforms, no elections. These reforms is about the constitution, and also about the free electoral council.
Yeah.
And ACT Wazalendo is now claimed to be the second big part. They say we vote, but we protect our votes. But there's a culture of you are not allowed to protect your vote. When you vote, you stay 100 meters away from the
Polling station.
yeah. So we know that they are going to use power to chase people. We don't know what will happen. So those three like the 3 voices, different voices, like telling their people, it's a confusion to normal people, the voters, because they don't know what they have to do. If they have to vote, go to vote, or they have to go and vote and protect their votes, or just vote and go home, waiting for the results. Yeah. Yes, yes. So that's a big confusion we have now.
Okay. Yes, you can hand over the mic. Yeah. Quite interesting. Hilda, in the case of Uganda, we had seen the violence meted on the opposition. Kizza Besigye was abducted from here in Kenya. Babu Wine arrested, tried in a military court. His close supporters and leaders shot, some killed. I mean, how does Uganda find back its democratic footing in an era where there are also concerns as to getting back to the bush, to wrestle back power from Museveni, who seems to be hell-bent on the militarization of his state, as you have said. So this is a very murky water to navigate, is it?
We can't start from the top, we can start from the bottom. The top has too much influence, but usually we grow. Plant is planted and it grows from the ground. So my recommendation there is that we start from the local leadership. In Uganda, our local leadership comes to, we have what we call the local councils, who are leaders for the local community setups that we stay in. So for me, my recommendation would be we start our democracy from the local councils. We head into our parishes, sub-countries, and then districts. The reason why I'm saying that is that when we start grooming people from the roots, these are the people who are the leaders tomorrow. Because already the top is already corrupted, and we cannot change, and we might not achieve democracy from the top. But for them, they believe it's democracy because every after 5 years, we go into elections and people vote. Whether the results are perfect, correct or not, but the results are there. They will show you the president won by 57%. So how are you going to dispute it? And on several occasions, because our law allows us to make an appeal with the tribunal, and on several occasions, all the opposition leaders, starting from BSCJ to Bobby Wine, have made appeals to the tribunal, but the cases have been very unsuccessful. Because then if you're unsuccessful with the tribunal, then you proceed to the High Court, and the High Court is the final. But usually the cases have been very unsuccessful. But since we have more leaders and the roots, that is my recommendation. Let's start from the roots because they're closer to the people, they know what the people's needs are, and then we might be able to change the mindset and we move away from the militarization agenda to liberate the country back to civilian agenda.
Okay. I'll get to the panel. Yes, Shepeta, your hand is up. I know this is an interesting topic. Yeah. And by the way, that touches the place of institutions that checks and balances, right? And Kenya is the only country in Africa where a presidential election has ever been nullified, and the 4th in the world.
Wow.
Viva Kenya. Viva Africa. Aya, wacha nianze na urembo. Relax, Shepeta. Relax. Yes, the lady there. And you are so energetic when dancing. We have one more when we finish. As we conclude the day, yes, please.
Nabado. My name is Mariam, the activist from Kenya, and as this platform as we continue having these platforms with our African comrades, I realize something we share a lot in common. Every time I talk to Ruth from Zambia, my friend Hamida from Uganda, Humulani from South Africa, we are sharing a lot in common in terms of electoral injustices. And my ask is, how about we have a common protocol or a common document that governs the whole of Africa, that we can always refer to this protocol and then we push our government to ratify the same protocol. The same way we have Maputo Protocol, so many countries have ratified. Can't we have a protocol? We can call it the Kenya Protocol or the Lusaka Protocol, where we have one document that is governing the electoral processes in Africa, because all our issues are the same, be it abductions, be it political unrest, everything is becoming very, very common. So I don't know how possible it is. Maybe it's a journey that we can start, but I think it's the high time that we have a common document that is governing Africa. Viva, viva, comrades, viva.
Yes, yes, Tunisia.
Thank you very much. So I'm really very jealous when you are talking about election, because I forget what the meaning of election as Tunisian citizens since 2019. Our last election, or let's say our last election, was in October 2024, and it was very democratic on point that we had only 3 candidates. One of them was the friend of the president, and the other was Jen. Since January 2024, the Tunisian government had a lot of campaign and put all opposition person or all future candidate to the president in jail. So we come in October with 3 candidates in the paper. As I said, one of them was arrested since 3 months before the election. And the big surprise that the president win with 97% of election, and only 7% of people go to vote. When we are talking about conflict in area of election, in my case in Tunisia, we feel the instability from the president and the supporter of the president. We feel threat, and we saw that through social media account and even through speech of the president, saying that if he will lose the election, Tunisia will become a very conflicted zone. So people were afraid to participate in this election. When I saw my sister talk about common
Protocol.
protocol or common chart between all content, it's something very interesting. But for example, again in Tunisia, African Commission is absent. African Commission we miss the African Commission when we talk about violation of civic space. When you talk about shrinking of civic space, we go to the African Commission. We say that they have bad reality in Tunisia today, but no one talked. No one talked with us. No one talked with the government. No one said that this current president of Tunisia is very dangerous of us. So how we can have the protocol or have a chart, and we are not already united together from the north to the south and from the east to the west. Thank you.
Still on the same. So the two ladies, Tanzania, na kutafutia swali. Haya. Yeah, you're just noting, so you'll respond to both. So I've taken one from you. I'll come. Yes. Yes. Happy. Are you happy?
Yeah.
So because there were many hands which were up, we just be brief to the point, so we accommodate more.
I also think that we also need to discuss about security, because violence is one strategy for winning or losing elections. So you'll find that like in 2017, where body bags were being taken to Nyanza region. Right now that Nyanza is pro-government, you know where the body bags will be heading to, somewhere around central of that. So discussion on security is very important, and also institutions. You see, like the way IBC was selected, the way it is. The other week, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, we almost got Ruto's friend, but at least we managed to get that sorted. The Communications Authority of Kenya, there is the immigration with the issues of ID cards. So I think the state is now controlling all the institutions that they will need to be able to secure an election. And already everyone is speaking about whether Kenyans are speaking about one term, Ruto is speaking about 2 terms, even in stadiums, you cannot even buy tickets because of the coming election. So I think the institutions that are important, we need to start thinking about. The challenge we have is usually start thinking about election on an election year, yet politicians think about elections 2 years before, like what they are doing this year. Thank you.
Halima, you'll respond to that, given the context, okay? Yes.
Thank you very much. My comment or question would be to Hilda. I think we've seen what is happening in Burkina Faso. And just to speak on the militarization of countries and see how progressive they can be. I think Burkina Faso, by the fact that that country is under the president came in through that militarization, we've come to see how positive it can also be that you may get into government through military groups and all that, but you end up doing the right thing for the people. You end up not just serve the people, and I mean not just serve the people who got you into power, but actually serve the people. And I think one positive thing we learn about this is that it's not somehow through the process how we get a leader, but getting a leader who listens to the people, who does what is right for the people, who ensures there's no corruption, there's a lot of integrity in their work, they follow the constitution and all that. So somehow, I don't know how the context is in Uganda, but I would add that somehow what is of importance is the fact that we get leaders who actually do the work for the people.
Okay.
It may not really matter whether they go. I know to us as human rights, it really matters that you're elected in a democratic process, and then you serve the people. But even to those who are elected in a democratic process, somehow some of them run away or go away from the people's promises and the manifesto and the agendas that they had initially said that they will do.
Okay.
And then you end up serving your own interests and all that. So I think we need to look at this thing even on a broader perspective in terms of how this thing can be changed.
Okay. Hilda, you'll respond to that? The line between militarization and a civilian state in the context of Uganda and Burkina Faso. All right? Yes. I'll come to you, the lady.
My name is Walid again, it's not changed. We Kenyans have a 2010 constitution. I think for Tanzania you have a 1977 constitution. Do you think you need a constitutional change or electoral reforms? Do you think it's possible to have a new constitution in Tanzania and Uganda? Another one, I think it's general, the balance between political education and civic voter education. Do you think we need political education, whereby we say, for example, in Kenya, you said that you will stop killings, but since you came into power, we've seen hundreds dying in the streets. We've seen hundreds found dead in dump sites. We've seen hundreds buried in a massacre area. You said that you will construct like 100,000+ houses affordable per year, but only 20,000 houses or less than that have been constructed a year. So maybe do you think we need a scorecard method whereby for us to convince the citizen, the voters that, okay, this is a better candidate, the way we campaign. So maybe a balance between voter education and political education. Do you think we need a shift? I think that's all.
Tanzania? You respond to that? So each of you has questions, right? So we exhaust this one. I start with you, Ruth. You can use mine.
My response is to Marion, and I'll briefly touch on Tunisia as well. Very critical point. I think what I actually want to bring out to you is we do actually have the African Charter on Democracy, Elections, and Governance. It's called the ACTEC. And I think this was what was meant to be our continent's social contract and democratic practice, but as well as for it to become the common protocol or convention, as you're putting it forth, on elections. But almost 20 years later, because this was this came into effect in the year 2007, we have to admit really that ACTEC has not lived up to its purpose. I don't know if you're aware about it or you're not aware about it, but one of the key challenges, even at African Union level, with this document being there by the member states themselves, who created this one document across Africa, is ratification and domestication by individual member states. Remember I said that the African Union, when we say African Union, constitutes the member states, right? They agree that we're going to have this convention on elections, democracy, and now when it comes to taking it back to their individual countries, that's where problem number one arises. For them to commit to it, to ratify, beyond just signing that they have committed to this, taking it back to actualize it at domestic or within their national laws. The second challenge, unfortunately, this document is present that you're actually both calling for, is enforcement that we keep talking about. Enforcement in the form of whether a state will violate the same charter whether by the shrinking civic spaces that we see across the African continent, whether the manipulation of the electoral commissions, management bodies rather, or resisting term limits where we've seen unconstitutional changes of government. Therein also lies the problem of that. And the third and the last one, which brings back to my point, the lack of awareness. There's a document in place, there's what you're calling for, one single document that guides these processes, but the lack of awareness, because even if you were to ask any ordinary voter, or you ask an aspiring councillor in Kiambu County or something like that, they wouldn't even know what the ACDEC is. So for me, my call to action in this instance is, I think, instead of creating new documents all the time, you have a conference and you convene. Let's look around our programming for those that may be privileged to have opportunities to resource. And I say resource is not limited to funding resource, but those that may have technical knowledge resource, people power, to see how then do we popularize some of these documents, make them accessible to the ordinary citizen, translate them into local dialect, but as well as finding a way to monitor and report, even at continental level. How many of the countries have been able to ratify? Of course, the African Union does that work. But what more work can we do as a Pan-African society, civil society, to actually head into the countries and find out where the challenges are? Yeah. Because therein also lies data that we can harvest to help support our programming much better. You may find that the key challenge of a country not domesticating a document they committed to at the African Union level is because of internal politics or sovereignty, as I call it, or security. But how do we work around that? So I think our key task as civil society is to breathe life into some of these documents or existing platforms that are launched beautifully but just die. The Tunisia comment, but on a broader prospect, I strongly want to agree with you that there really is a gap in terms of North and Sub-Saharan Africa. I think we live in very separate political realities. And when we talk about democracy, elections, and human rights, the truth is that the struggles are shared. If we talk about the Arab Spring, the uprisings that would take place, even the ones, what's happening in Libya, what we realize is that even for young activists who may be in Tunisia, whether they're in their city or they're in Lusaka today, the question that they're all asking is, does my voice count? Because North Africa is now seen, or rather seen, that it aligns more with the Middle East. But because there's this exclusion, even from the Sub-Saharan Africa. So I think, yes, the context may differ, but North Africa really grapples with its proximity to the Middle East, and Sub-Saharan Africa, of course, with its post-colonial state of the fragility, right? Our principles are the same at the end of the day. So in my view, as civil society, we have a lot of work to do. I'm very happy to see North Africa in the room, because most times they're in the room, they're rarely in the room, but it's good to have them raise those pointers. So yeah, my last statement really is because we must realize that democracy is indivisible at the end of it. And if it's weakened in one part of Africa, it is weakened for all of us.
Thank you. A round of applause for her. Comprehensive. Yes, Hilda.
I'll start from the last point of militarization, whether it is good or bad. Uganda has gone through coups. To the current term that we're in, it was 3 coups d'etat. And all the military leaders that come to power come with very good promises. And the current president, when you look at all his promises and his action to plan what the Ugandan he envisioned to have, it was very good. It was very awesome. And just like people in Burkina Faso supporting Captain Ibrahim, people supported the current president because the agenda was good. It was top-notch. The country was sinking. We were going through economic repression, so something needed to be done. And that coup was awesome at the time. The thing with democracy, the reason why democracy was introduced, because then power belongs to the people. We've all witnessed some of our leaders, some of our Jesus Christ. They come, they save us for 5 years. After 5 years, they turn into something else. And when you look at the patterns of the military leaders that we have in the world, not only in Africa, in the world, usually they come as Christ, they come as Muhammad, and then things afterwards turn bad, which is very different from democracy. There must be currently we are crying about there's an injustice happening, but at least to some extent power belongs to people. People have a say. When a military leader says no, it is a no. In Uganda, and the reason why I'm talking about militarization is because I'll give you an example of the NGO. As some of you are aware, the organization that regulated the NGOs, the NGO Bureau in Uganda, was semi-autonomous as of last year. Then an agenda of rationalization to save billions of government expenditure came up, and the NGO Bureau ceased to be semi-autonomous. It was taken back as a department in Ministry of Internal Affairs. Now, our Ministry of Internal Affairs is a ministry for military, police, prison. So how do the NGOs fall in there? You know why? Because as NGOs, and we'll talk about counterterrorism laws probably tomorrow, because as NGOs, we are vulnerable, that we are aware of. Some of the monies are being channeled through us, alleged, not confirmed. So they need to keep watching us, and that is the military state. It is watching you at all times, and that affects your work. That stifles you. We live in fear. Every transaction you make, you're not certain, you're not sure about what you're making. Anytime the bank is going to call you, this money has come in your bank account, explain, give us the proposal, what is it about? And then just by mere questioning and doubting your work, that trust is already broken. So yes, for Burkina Faso, we are all hailing Captain Ibrahim. Things are going on well, and we hope in the next 20 years, things will be well, and we hope we can copy from them. That is my only prayer for them. So that's what I can give you the difference between those two. But also, I would like to get to a point of, my brother Happy talked about the several institutions that constitute elections. The communications, in Uganda we have the Uganda Communications Commission, and then we'll have the national identity, the ones that give us identity cards. One thing, we are here in a dialogue. One thing that we tend to advocate for at Civic Advisory Hub is opening up dialogue spaces where the civil society drive the agenda, or the people drive the agenda. Okay. And these dialogue spaces, not to only us, we bring in academia, we bring in those very security, we bring in the government bodies. If civil society organizations start up this early to bring in the communications commissions, the ID, the conversation starts now. Those people are human beings. They are not gods. They listen, they understand, and when we engage with them on the table, to some extent, we can achieve something. I'll give you an example. Last year when we had the African Anti-Money Laundering and Counterterrorism Financing Conference, for the first time we brought in Interpol for Southern Africa. And when I sat next to him, the head of Interpol, because our issue was civil society is being excluded from the table when they're making these laws. And at the end of the day, we are the ones who suffer. We are the grass. The elephant sits there, it makes, it fights, the grass suffers. So, and the gentleman told me, actually, I'm glad I came for this conference. I realized we've overmade this thing to be security, and we consider you as civilians. You don't play any part in this. but I'm going to think about it. So just by the mere fact someone telling I'm going to think about it, it means there's hope, they're willing to engage.
Okay.
So I would advocate for, let's open up dialogue spaces with these institutions, let's bring them to table, and let's put forward our concerns. It's the same with security.
Okay.
Let's do that. That is it from me, but also, my sister talked about the women's situation room. It's one system, early warning mechanism that has been successful in Africa, not only East Africa, introduced by the woman president of Sierra Leone or Liberia, one of the women's president, and African Union took it up. It's a good early warning mechanism that looks at before, during, and after elections.
Okay.
Women's Situation Room works with security. In Uganda, Women's Situation Room worked with those army generals, they worked with police to show them that we are not your enemies. So any issue that came up, it was easy to address it. Of course, it was mainly focused on the women and the youth. So let's look at also our early warning mechanisms that we can put in place.
Is that President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Maembe, there was also a question for you.
Thank you. If I understand your question, whether we need or we can manage to have independent electoral council or new constitution, the answer is we believe that if the government decide or president decide, we can have the independent electoral council now, if she decides. But why we include this with the constitution, new constitution? Because we already started the process of making new constitution, and it remained voting. But the government of CCM destroyed the process. But in the new constitution, there is a part of independent electoral council. But what's the problem of this constitution now is we inherit this constitution because this constitution is a constitution of 1977. And this is was after the union of these two parts, ASP, Afro-Shirazi Party from Zanzibar, and TANU from Tanganyika. So they made that. But we made like more than 14 amendments of our constitution. But the big were two. It was in 1984 when under the council of Judge Nyalali, I think that's Nyalali, and another one was 1992 of Judge Kisanga. So those just were amendments. But we decided to have our own constitution, and we already start the process. But this part which is in the power destroyed the process. That is what we demand. We need a new constitution, the constitution of the people of Tanzania, that made by the people of Tanzania, not this one that we inherit. So that's confusion that we have. But another problem, big problem to the people out of Tanzania, the media in the country is not free. So if you need a real news from Tanzania, you have to be in Tanzania, or you have to listen to a Tanzanian who is a real patriotic. Because if you have a parent, a Tanzanian, and you want to know his or her capacity of thinking, you just have to ask one question, but those questions must be about Simba Sports Club, Yanga Sports Club, or his political party. They never be true on that thing. Because every time they protect their political parties, they protect their Simba and Yanga.
Thank you. Yes, Halima, you also had a question.
Yes. My question was on this, the planning purposes, that is. I think for me, and basically the voters in general, if planning is done well together with electoral officials, then I don't think that we will have issues on the ground, either in terms of, ballot boxes being, being taken or being stolen at the polling stations, or voters.
And then the gentleman, and the final to you. So it should be done in 6 minutes. Yeah, please be brief to the point. Yeah.
Thank you. My question is on, for all the panelists, thank you for the good work you're doing. It's on internet and things, use of technology in elections. How prepared are we as East Africa or the rest of Africa with regard to use of technology in voter education? You know, we are going towards an electronically and technologically savvy youth population, the Gen Z effect on elections. So how prepared are we to handle messaging on social media, both positively and negatively? The laws, the rules, the policies that are there in terms of preparedness. How well is our civic education material conversant with how to protect us, citizenry, both leaders and voters with regard to that? Two, how prepared are we to deal with tallying with regard to technology, parallel tallying? In the Kenyan experience, at some point, all tallying centers were cut off to stop people from having a common tally. How prepared are we to deal with the results? I remember at some point we couldn't access the server, and there were laws and rules that were governing that. One, it's in Netherlands, it's in which country, and all those. So how well are we prepared to deal with technology in the coming elections?
You'll respond to that, Ruth. Yeah. Yes?
Thank you so much. So I'm Tina from Amkeni. My question is, how are we going to tackle the issue of especially women leadership? Myself being a woman and having seen actions and activities that are being now perpetrated or being shown on our televisions and in the rallies, whereby women are being asked just to show their bodies and dance, not going to the parliament to raise up issues. And when this woman MP raised an issue while questioning the CS Interior on the matter of Kware bodies that were being dumped last year, she was chased out from the parliament and then asked not to be there for a period of time and not to serve even in her office as an MP. So how are we encouraging and building our young girls, young women, especially the youth, to come up into political spaces and be firm? And lastly, I would encourage my colleague from Uganda that even the Gen Z uprising, we came up when we were scared. We are never very strong, we are never so very okay going out there, but something must be done. We should start from somewhere. And as you had said, that localization is first the key. So we should start by localizing whatever that we have internationally, nationally, the information that is out there, so that our people, our youth will come out and vote. And for the Tanzania, it's good that at least we are seeing people are coming out, even if they are few, like the instances of that church that was closed. I have been trying to follow up. Seeing people coming out, they are coming to the road, worshipping and asking for their right of worship. However, they are being brutalized, but they are coming out kidogo kidogo. We say that kidogo kidogo hujaza kibaba, but that's a good one.
Thank you. Words of encouragement for our Ugandan and Tanzanian brethren. That question, she was referring to Gathoni Wamushomba, who was suspended from House proceedings by the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula. Yes, you? Yes, and then...
my name is Catherine. I have 2 questions, so across the region.
So, Hilda and Mr. Maembe, you will respond to these questions.
So first is, there's a mention of where we are expecting elections, especially in East Africa, but we've accepted that the incumbents will hold office. So where is the hope in our future? Is there any possibility of a new arising, or even in our youth especially, is there a possibility or hope where we can mobilize, encourage, train, mentor them to take up office, or have we accepted our fates as middle generation people? Second is, how viable is it to use international pressure and voices in our different regions? Is it working, or is it not loud enough or effective enough? And lastly, how can we use the media as our friend? The journalists, the narratives, the stories they tell. Where do we
just vie for this position? And this, that could be an example that young women could be told to always speak truth to power and not to shun away from speaking the truth. We need to ask the right questions at the right time. At the same time, we need to encourage our young women out there not only to be voters, but also candidates. We need more women in the parliament today than ever. Two, on issues to do with technology, I want to say that AI has taken a large impact on the Gen Zs today. And when it comes to campaign and advocacy, I think it plays a critical role when it comes to campaign in either electoral reforms or any other reforms that we want to put in place. The question is, are we ready, the technology to be able to count for us our votes? That is a very big question that I think even the conversation between the electoral officials and the civil society that has been happening for the past few days is there's the tallying, and then there's the results issue, whether we allow that AI to do that for us, or we continue manually as it has been lately. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Hilda and Mr. Membe, there were questions for you as well.
I'll start with the last one from Catherine. How do you use journalism and how do you use the media to our advantage? I'll speak from the Ugandan perspective, where there's high surveillance of everything that is being done. One, that puts the journalists at risk, but also where they're being arrested inhumanly, beaten inhumanly, and detained inhumanly. That also creates fear.
Yes.
But my solution to that would be cross-border or international collaboration. We've had instances where journalists collect information and it's being published from another country.
He will get back.
So the risks are being transferred. If the issues are in Uganda, then we can work with people in Kenya, we can work with someone even outside East Africa to publicize the things that are going on badly in the country.
What you do,
and I can say that was used during our last election. We have much as you have the June, we have the November 18th, 2020, when people were shot, when the military gave command, shoot to kill.
We know how to deal with power.
So whether you're on the street striking or just going about your business, you are at risk of being killed, and so many people were being killed. So every journalist who collected evidence on that, most of them were captured, they were arrested, their gadgets were destroyed. But using this cross-border collaboration, it came up in the BBC. So BBC publicized what happened. We might have missed out on some information that was taken, but at least there is hope if we can use cross-border collaboration. And the same goes for activism. If we can transfer the risks to another, of course, it won't go on well, like we saw what happened in Tanzania, what happened to our brother in Kenya and my sister in Uganda when they were in Tanzania. So sometimes there are mistakes that will happen, things won't go on, but we can explore that option. How viable to use international pressure? I don't think international pressure now is on that level of, and when I talk about international pressure, I'm talking about the Western organization. I don't know whether they can stand and tell our presidents what to do, where we've reached. For those of us who have had presidents who have been in power for so long, are quite adamant and very arrogant. You know my president, you can't tell him what to do. You can't tell him don't pass the anti-homosexuality bill. He will tell you this is my country. It's a sovereign state. We've had issues with the international community, the diplomatic community. They held meetings this year with opposition, and the First Sun threatened them. They even went and put out a protest in front of the embassy of Germany. And they threatened him to get out of the country. That's a diplomatic community. That is violation of the Vienna Protocol. And they were told, when they went to meet the brother of the president, they were told they were meddling into domestic affairs. But what were they doing? They were speaking against the human rights abuses. So is it something that we can bank on? In some countries, yes. In some of our countries, it's no. They will not help. Is there a possibility of uprising? There's always hope, as long as we're still alive.
Thank you.
Even under a dictator, there are young leaders that are rising. These dictators were also young at a certain point. So let's raise leaders. In our leaders do not have a specific institutions they come from. The current president of Botswana is an advocate of human rights. He was a lawyer. So in all our institutions, let's raise leaders who will stand up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is Mr. Maembe? Ruth, you'll finish up for us briefly, yeah, because we are past time. So yeah, yes, yes, please, Mr.
Yeah, thank you. I think
you know you're the only one on the panel, so if I don't take your account, it will be serious.
Yeah.
Please proceed.
Yes, I think she's already said something, but I will add on that. Myself, I believe that there will be the end of this violation of human rights in our countries, because as we grow and also our countries grows, so things are changing. But we have also to put our effort to make sure that we have the international solidarity. If somebody raises his voice in Tanzania, so we have to be sharp. The people in Kenya and other countries, we rise higher than, because when we do that, when the people in a country hear that there are some people, they know what we are doing negatively to our people, then they start to change or to reduce that thing, because one of the weapons that we use in human rights defending is to expose the people who are doing bad things to our people. So we have to get more and more this international solidarity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, Ruth, final word.
Okay, final word, and in two parts. The first one is, I'll start with the technology one. When it comes to technology, really, and elections in Africa, very important question, and our preparedness, in my opinion and view, is that we remain uneven and very deeply contested, because on one hand, right, technology certainly offers the real opportunities. You know, we've got the biometric voter registration. I was very privileged late last year in December and early January to be one of the electoral observers for Ghana's election. It was my first time observing, and this technology in Ghana was working very well. Even when the voters came in the morning, put in their thumb, their fingerprints, everything went well, right? But we've also seen how digital platforms for civic education have also improved transparency in some contexts, especially what kind of information is put out there. As you rightly put it, is the civic education up to date with how the citizen will also understand it? But also, what we do see in terms of technology and elections in Africa, for the young people, it's become the center hub to digitally mobilize when they can't physically mobilize. And of course, what this has been done is, it also helps amplify irregularities that we've seen in the election, especially during the tabulations of voting. But technology has also come with a risk in terms of misinformation, disinformation, but also the key risks we see during elections, such as the internet shutdown, the digital surveillance, not only on the candidates, but on the activists and the young people that are mobilizing. So, on the other hand, really, Technology is a good thing. We are going to make progress, ideally, but how technology will continue to also be weaponized in the aspect of security is an angle and a conversation that we should separately have. But also the internet shutdowns and the surveillance. At what point do we reach the balance of also understanding that even online where people organize, their human rights and their freedom to express must be respected. So are we prepared? Because you asked a lot of how prepared. I would say partially we're prepared in the sense that we're receiving technology in some contexts to help us improve democracy, especially on the electoral end of things. But institutionally and legally, we are still lagging for the fact that if technology is not strengthening our democracy and it's being put or coming with the right to silence the people, then we're moving 10 steps backwards. And quickly, to get into another comment I had made sure that I wrote, which we didn't discuss, electoral resolutions, especially with regards to disputes and electoral justice. I think I would want to speak quickly to the Zambian case at hand, in the sense that one beauty that we have seen in terms of our electoral process act, as we'd call it, right, is that it is not only the presidency that can get to be challenged as per constitution, right, but also the ordinary citizen who may be the councillor, the council chairperson, or the mayor, also have an avenue in which their election result can be challenged. On one hand, it's a good thing because I don't think we've got the provision like Zimbabwe, the right to recall a leader that may not be performing, for example. But one thing that I've seen is that this right to challenge results, as Director had put it, has brought about tension in the sense that when the legal system or the judiciary, for lack of a better term, nullifies a parliamentary seat or the local government seat, it doesn't just remove an individual at the end of it. It has got a repercussion in the sense that it disrupts the people's choice when it nullifies the seat, but also it has given power that should a by-election occur as a result of the court making a nullification or a decision, it bars the previous candidate who stood. This is the case for Zambia. But it opens up, and I call it a Pandora's box, in the sense that you already know, in some cases, that the ruling government and whichever candidate they may put forth is the one that will go through, and that person may not have been the choice in the previous time. So I think one key critical point that I'd want to then bring out is that our legal frameworks, our legal justice systems must remain a safeguard, but they should never be the center of replacing the will of the people. Dispute resolution mechanisms in Africa are very critical because elections in some of our regions, and I think in most of the regions, if we look at it critically, right, are actually the root source of the tension that we're seeing and the threats to the peace and security or the stability in most of the regions. But if we did more conflict preparedness, early warning mechanism systems for our electoral systems, we would then have less tension within our civic spaces.
Thank you.
So, okay, I'll really end there, but the real answer then lies in us strengthening our electoral systems. No matter how many times you change the constitution, sir, I know that was a question for Tanzania, disputes will continue to arise because even when you bring about constitutional amendments to take place and you see that it's a good rule for the people, that is also another source for tension within the African context. So we need to have a broader, honest conversation around this.
10 seconds.
One more recommendation. We're sharing best practices, but can we merge the two, best and bad practices?
Okay.
Why am I saying this? Let's conduct scenario buildings. When we conduct scenario building, that's when the analysis of the conflicts will come in. What happened in Uganda, the switch off internet for 1 week, what are the possibilities that it will happen in Kenya? And if it happens, how prepared are we? What alternatives do we have? And the reason why I say that, in Uganda, the previous elections before that, we were prepared for switching off social media. So we had all sorts of VPN. And then, they switched off the entire internet. So how prepared are we? Let's look at the trends happening in other African countries, do scenario building, and come up with mitigation measures. Thank you.
Thank you, and much appreciated. Asanteni sana. A round of applause for the ladies and the gentlemen. Much appreciated. So before I call the gentleman for a final round of dance, and the three main dancers, Matthias, Omwami, and you. Yes, allow me to appreciate the presence of Hussein Khalid, Director. Karibu. So tomorrow we have a session. There's a gadget in front of you you can utilize. You can say hi. We have to make sure that you had lunch.
Unfortunately, I haven't had lunch.
Yeah.
But shukran, and very honored to be here. Haki Africa has been an integral part of my career for many years. So very honored to be here and to stand with Haki Africa and everyone across the continent.
Karibu.
Thank you, Ayub.
Thank you. We had representatives from Zambia, Tanzania, Uganda, Tunisia, Ghana, Nigeria, and of course Kenya. We're hosting them. Thank you so much. Where are our dancers? Mukona quorum?
I'm not Omwami, I'm Auma. Excuse me?
Yeah?
I'm not Omwami,
yeah.
Auma.
Auma.
Yes.
Muko jirani tu. Yeah. I know if you are to say until your great-grandfather, utasonga tu karibu na Kakamega. Mko tayari? Let's give them a minute. Yeah.
Their power. More power to the people, more power. More power to justice, more power. More power to the youth.
More power.
Africa, more power.
Here we go. Where are the good dancers? Auma. I enjoy. Matthias. Yes, you can join. Yeah. Matthias. Very well. Asante. Lakini ya kizini. Kesho mapema alafu. Ukimaliza kudance. Napenda closing remarks kutoka Nadia. Acha niende.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Tosha. Aye. Tosha. Aye. A round of applause, Fluent. Thank you very much. My name is Matthias Shipata. I'm sure we've interacted on emails and other forms of engagement. Allow me to now invite the Chair, Board of Directors, Haki Africa, to give the closing remarks. After that, we will finish with a word of prayer. Karibu, Chair. Yeah, I'm told it's not closing, it's just closing for today. Tomorrow we'll still be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Matthias. We hope, we as Haki Africa, you've enjoyed this event. And up to now, I can see faces which are still glowing and active still. And it's late afternoon, or it's evening already, right? So thank you very much. We managed to cover and engage quite a bit. We started with national security and human rights on the cyber security and data protection. James Bugua did a fantastic presentation, and then which was followed up by the panelists, which covered more or less the entire Africa. And we saw that, and it was very engaging and very active. We could all feel the conversation and the discussions that were happening around during the first session. And then Mr. Crispin, I think we all wanted more, to hear more, but time did not allow us because he spoke from the hunter's perspective, where we are all not even aware of what is happening in those, the IEBC, the electoral board commissions, which we have them in our different countries. So how they are being profiled. Mr. Crispin has left, I think. I even, during lunchtime, I went to him and told him he forgot one lady who was killed very recently. And that lady was actually my neighbor. And that was in Kilifi. So we are not talking about something that has happened a year or two ago on those 2 years mentioned, but there's another one who was killed. And she just got a promotion. And she never even, she got her letter of promotion, and the next thing we heard that she was killed. So they are highly profiled as much as the human rights activists as well. And then I think we went to the session where Mr. Crispin started it, and then we went to the section where it's very deep in our hearts. And our ED, Advocate Yusuf Abubakar, showed us the preparedness and the steps, the different steps happening during the electoral preparedness. And that one then, set the pace as well. Mr. Crispin started, then Yusuf Abubakar took from there, and then the panelists just killed it, literally. And we all wanted it to continue. I sat with the Tunisian lady, and it was interesting when, is it Ruth, was talking about Tunisia, and she was not happy at all. And it was interesting that we had that conversation on identity crisis. Are they Arabs? Are they Africa? And they're actually even close to Europe. Are they Europeans? So maybe I give you 10 seconds to tell us who are you.
Actually, we are not Arab. We are colonized by Arabs and cycles. We are not European. Obviously, we are not European. You are based in Africa. I think that we are North African people. We are African people. That's it.
So you've heard from the horse's mouth. Okay, so Ruth, I think you need to have that conversation and be able to understand who they are as well. Interesting as well, I learned from her, there's Cape Sieta.
Cape Sirat.
Cape Sirat. We always talk about Cape to Cairo, right? Cairo to Cape. Apparently there's Cape Sirat to Cape Town. Cape Town is the bottom of Africa, the bottom point in Africa. Cape Sirat is the top point in North Africa, and they call themselves the key to Africa. If you want to enter into Africa, you have to pass Tunisia. That is the highest point. So go check on that, Cape Sirat. That is our highest point, and Cape Town is the bottom of Africa. So Tunisia holds the key. And I guess the other way around, it's the key now to leave. I think in Ghana, there's the door to no return and door to return. Did I get that correct? The Ghanaian people. Sorry? Senegal. Oh, there's also one in Ghana. I went to that one. I went to that door. I had to make sure that I went to that door of no return. Mr. Kobler, doctor, what is the door? Door of no return. Door of no return. The one in Ghana. And now recently, now the door, so if I'm going out, there's door of no return. It's written there. During that slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade, so you go, there's no return, right? But recently, now at the back, they've now written door of return. So we are now returning them back, not the slaves, but now the generation after slavery and all that. So things are happening, and I understand there's one in Senegal as well. Somebody has just mentioned that. I guess this is a problem of being a lecturer. So it's the knowledge that you get, you just want to share it out, which is just amazing. So I think with those, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all the participants, the dignitaries who are here from state and from non-state, for giving us your time to be with us today. The organizers, I can't thank you enough. Bwana MC amekimbia wapi? He's been brilliant. Sorry? Ameenda studio. Oh, asharejea studio, kwa hivyo tutampata. So please watch the news from Citizen, right? You will find him on the news in Citizen. So watch your TVs at 7 o'clock, or is it 9 o'clock? You'll find him in one of the two. So he's gone back to studio. So we've managed to be with him live today. I myself have never met him live. This is my first time. So it was a privilege for me as well. And when he does interviews with the president, he really nails it like there's no tomorrow. So he's a human rights activist, I believe, in a way, and you've seen the work that he's done today. So thanks to him as well, and thanks to the organizers. The hotel has always also done a tremendous job to ensure that our tummies are full and to giving us the best. And I understand our ugali, sima yetu imeenda private school, right? Okay, so you are from Ghana, Zambia. Okay, the Fufu people from West, what do you say? Where has our Fufu? Now this is our closest to your Fufu. Did you have that? You think it went to private school as well? There it is, it's perfect as well. So thank you very much. We are closing for today. Looking forward for tomorrow to be able to continue and engage on the different sessions that we have, and looking forward to have an engaging session tomorrow. Thank you very much. Have a lovely evening. Nairobi is good, Nairobi is fun. Nairobi has a bit of traffic, like everywhere else. Nigeria was, I don't know if it was worse. Ghana, if you tell Ghanaian people that you want to go anywhere, it's like, no, you can't go this time. The traffic is bad. And then when you go, it's like, is this bad? You should come to Nairobi and see what traffic is. So again, Tunisia, thank you very much. Please go and see Nairobi. A little bit of Nairobi. We have very, very fantastic nightlife. That one I can tell you. I don't know if you can see from our social media, we're very active, and we need to give you nice places where you might go tonight, but ensure you wake up very early tomorrow morning. Thank you very much.
A round of applause to the Board of Directors. Thank you very much. I think we've had a very fantastic day. Thanks for the participation and the engagement that we've had. We've come to the close of today. We still have more sessions tomorrow. Hussein Hali than many others will be here. So we're looking forward to a fruitful engagement tomorrow. At this juncture, they say the Kenyan national anthem is also a prayer. So I will ask you to rise. We finish with the national anthem of the Republic of Kenya. Yeah?